This is likely one of the most tear-jerking films from Japan. The story unfolds with a simple, familiar premise, illustrating what it means to say goodbye with a smile, a kind of tenderness. The father is diligently working in his study when a sudden doorbell interrupts his thoughts. He initially considers scolding the unexpected visitor but finds that it's his daughter, Yuriko, who has returned after many years away. Seeing her suitcase at the door raises suspicions about her husband's infidelity or domestic violence, but Yuriko calmly assures him that nothing is wrong. Once inside, Yuriko senses that something is off. Since her mother passed away, the house has always been a mess, but now it's spotless. Her instinct tells her that her father must have found someone new. When she enters the kitchen and sees the pristine countertops, her suspicions grow stronger. It's hard for her to believe that her father, who never cooked, could keep the kitchen so tidy. Only when he presents a knife engraved with his name and a detailed recipe book does she start to realize she might have misjudged him. Her father, amused by her adorable skepticism, chuckles. Yuriko eventually bursts into laughter, finally accepting that it's all his doing, although the drastic change leaves her a bit unsettled. Playfully, she tells her father that she's hungry. Despite claiming it's none of his business, he instinctively puts on an apron and soon prepares a feast. Yuriko is shocked as she tastes his cooking. Laughing oddly and shedding tears she tries to conceal, claiming they're due to the delicious food. However, her father notices the sadness in her eyes, leading him to believe she's hiding something. Determined to uncover the truth, he enlists the help of a neighbor to probe Yuriko subtly. When that fails, he seeks advice from a friend whose daughter is also married. The friend downplays the situation, suggesting that it's normal for couples to argue, especially compared to his own daughter, who visits often and leaves with everything of value. Unable to find answers from anyone else, the father decides to consult his late wife. The next morning, he brings flowers to her grave, only to find Yuriko sobbing uncontrollably. Her despair pierces his heart, motivating him to discover what's truly happening. He gathers the neighbor and her son to help him deceive Yuriko into thinking he's visiting a sick friend. He then travels to the school where his son-in-law. When the son-in-law sees him, his face reflects sadness and reluctance. They meet at a cafe where the father bluntly asks what's wrong. The son-in-law pretends everything is fine, refusing to divulge any information even when the father pleads with him. Seeing his steadfastness reassures the father that their marriage is stable, and as long as Yuriko is happy, he can overlook the details. However, just as he prepares to leave, the son-in-law, filled with compassion, stops him. He begs that if the father learns the truth, he should keep it from Yuriko and maintain their usual relationship. A sense of dread washes over the father. The son-in-law reveals that Yuriko has been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Though the father had mentally prepared himself, the brutal reality still shocks him. Yuriko discovered her illness during a checkup, and knowing she had little time left, her first thought was of her father. Having lost her mother when she was young, she feared her father wouldn't cope with losing her too. So, she asked her husband to let her spend half of her remaining time with her father. Tears streaming down his face, the father is overcome with sorrow for his daughter. When he enters her room, he sees that her bookshelf is filled with books he has translated, each accompanied by a note of her thoughts. He realizes that she has been clumsily caring for him all along. The son-in-law shares more about Yuriko, explaining that she has always loved her father but struggled to express it. In her first year of junior high, she was cast in a major role in a play, but felt unworthy and sought encouragement from her father. Instead, he snapped at her to stop if she couldn't do it. Another time, she had secretly read one of his translations, finding it fascinating. But when asked for her opinion, she feigned disinterest, inadvertently leading him to abandon that project, which later became a bestseller. Regret fills the father's heart as he realizes his actions have caused his daughter so much distress. Feeling unfit as a father, he cautiously asks his son-in-law how much longer Yuriko will stay. Upon learning she can only remain for a month, he suddenly appears much older, his eyes filled with helplessness and despair. He wishes he could take her pain upon himself. After leaving his son-in-law's house, the father visits his wife's grave to thank her for raising such a wonderful daughter. When he sadly returns home, he hears laughter coming from inside. He quickly adjusts his emotions and walks in nonchalantly. Seeing the father's serious expression, everyone bursts into laughter again. The father tries hard to maintain his usual demeanor, uttering his catchphrase. Despite his efforts to control his emotions, the tenderness in his eyes gives him away. In the following days, the father and daughter visit a temple to pray, choose books together at a bookstore, and take walks chatting in the streets. They enjoy a simple, pure life like any ordinary family. Throughout their time together, The father's gaze often unconsciously drifts toward his daughter. One day, while cooking in the kitchen, the father suddenly gets an idea and asks Yuriko, who is reading, to help him. This marks their first time cooking together. As they prepare the meal, one making soup and the other chopping vegetables, Yuriko can't help but smile with happiness at her father's serious demeanor. During dinner, the father asks Yuriko if there's anywhere she'd like to go. She initially thinks of a roller coaster, but seeing her father's surprised expression, opts for a restaurant her mother used to take her to as a child. The next afternoon, watching her father gently order for her, Yuriko starts to sense something. That evening, she calls her husband to ask if her father has contacted him. Though he vehemently denies it, Yuriko confirms her suspicions. The next day, life continues, as usual, with neither of them mentioning the unspoken secret. The father pulls out a novel and asks for Yuriko's thoughts. After only reading a few chapters, she finds it very interesting. Seeing her reaction, he immediately invites her to help with the translation work, and Yuriko happily agrees. In the days that follow, they work diligently together on the translation, supporting and cherishing one another. Their seemingly calm life is filled with deep affection. Before long, they complete the manuscript. This is their first collaboration, and though they are tired, they feel joyful. As time passes, Yuriko's health deteriorates, her body and time stretch to the limit. She realizes she must soon say goodbye. Like her mother did before her, she asks a neighbor to look after her father. Yuriko then prepares one of her mother's signature dishes, her father's favorite meal, one he could never replicate. Proudly, she tells him that the secret ingredient is honey, and if he ever misses her and her mother, he can make this dish himself. Hearing her casual remark, the father suddenly realizes that his daughter may be preparing to leave him. Indeed, the next moment, she utters the words he dreads most. Although his heart aches with reluctance, he pretends to accept it with a nod. He then suggests they go watch a performance of Rakugo the next day. He recalls how, as a child, Yuriko pretended not to want to go when she actually did. Mimicking her playful defiance, he hopes to mask his sadness. Yuriko recognizes this attempt and, in their usual banter, tries to lighten the mood and dispel the sorrow of their impending separation. The next day, they attend the Rakugo performance together. The humorous presentation brings laughter to the audience, and Yuriko finds herself laughing uncontrollably. However, as she laughs, tears unexpectedly fall down her cheeks. She wishes she could stay by her father's side, but the relentless grip of illness offers her no chance. Seeing his daughter laugh while wiping her tears on his shoulder fills the father with heartache and longing. Yet, he can only mask his sorrow with a smile. As the performance ends, he stands on a bridge to send Yuriko off, both of them aware that this farewell may be permanent. The father thought he could face this moment with composure, but when Yuriko turns to leave, he cannot remain silent. He struggles to hold back tears as he offers her words of encouragement. The unhealed scars of their past, soothed by his late but heartfelt support, fade away in this goodbye. Their smiles transform from a mask of sadness into genuine joy and happiness. Holding on to her father's words and encouragement, Yuriko fights back tears as she turns to leave. Perhaps she will continue to battle her illness, while her father faces life alone. Yet, they are not filled with fear or unease. The deep emotions and memories they share will become a boundless source of strength, supporting them as they move forward. In this heartfelt film, the father's unwavering support and Yuriko's quiet strength illuminate the power of family ties, reminding us that even in the face of inevitable loss, love endures, offering solace and hope. Their journey together is a poignant exploration of how love can transform grief into cherished memories, urging us to cherish every fleeting moment,